Okay, well, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, The Importance of Business Agility in Uncertain Times, where we'll be discussing how to improve your business's responsiveness to changing market conditions using Workday Adaptive Planning. So my name is Tim York, co-founder of Cubics Analytics, and I'm happy to be joined by Jenny Costello from Workday. She's an enterprise account executive of Workday who will introduce herself shortly. Unfortunately, Raphael is unable to join us today, so I'll be walking everyone through our demo of Workday Adaptive Planning, showing you a few examples of how companies are responding to current environment. So before we get started, let me go over a few items really quickly, just so you know how to participate in today's event. First of all, we're recording this session, so we'll email everyone a link to the session later this week, should you want to rewatch it or share it with your colleagues. Secondly, although it's a short webinar, we do want it to be interactive. So if you have any questions along the way, just go ahead and submit them in the Q&A panel. And then we'll be leaving a little time at the end to make sure that we get to everyone's questions, even if it means that we need to stay over just a bit. If we're having any, actually, I guess, okay. So let me introduce, with the housekeeping out of the way, I'm going to introduce Jenny Costello from Workday. She is an enterprise account executive based in the Bay Area who was kind enough to join us for today's webinar. So Jenny, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tim. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Jenny. I'm an account executive here at Workday, focusing on adaptive. I've been here for almost 2 years. And just to give a quick background of Adaptive Insights, so we are the leading provider for cloud planning systems. We're 100% cloud, which means that we're able to really push this out to you, and it's very easy to implement and get going. We have over 5,000 customers to date, and we are always ranked very highly from third-party research firms like Gartner, Forrester, Constellation Research. And next slide, please. And then just click one more time. There we go, perfect. And one of the great things about Adaptive is we recognize, where you are today as a company is going to be very different than where you are 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And that's really the beauty of Adaptive Insights, is you really can scale and grow into it as your company changes. So we help our customers plan, not just within finance, but really all around with every functional capacity that you need your company to plan at. So whether that be, the core FP&A, your financial plans, or if you expand that out into sales planning, if territory and sales capacity is important to you, your marketing planning, operational planning, workforce planning. I think especially now with COVID, that's an important thing. We're there, and we can really grow with you as you expand your use case with Adaptive. And we have over 5,000 customers to date. And this expands across all different industries and company sizes. So we work with really small companies that, are just starting out, software companies that are still, early on, or any company size, as low as 10 employees we can work with. And then we scale up all the way into billion-dollar corporations. And because we can work across all different industries, this really just speaks volumes to the way that Adaptive can really configure to your specific business, because no business operates the same, and Adaptive can really configure with the way that you need to operate. And since we do work with all different company sizes, you're not limited as you do scale and grow as a company with what the functionality you can do with Adaptive. You can always expand into there. And so Tim is going to now take you through just, how you can get more agility, with your business, and different things to look at, especially with the current COVID environment. So I will hand things off to Tim now.
Great, thank you, Jenny. So first, let me introduce Cubics Analytics. Who is Cubics Analytics? We are a Workday adaptive planning solution provider based in Silicon Valley with clients nationwide. Our team is made up of a mix of financial and data experts with years of experience implementing the adaptive planning product across a wide range of industries, and like I said, throughout the U.S. We feel that our strong financial background, along with really deep technical expertise, puts us in a unique position to address whatever issues are encountered by our customers' FP&A teams. So that's a little bit on us. And so at this point, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of business agility and how your business agility can be improved through the use of Workday Adaptive Planning. For the last few months, Workday has been polling its customers and really listening to how they're responding to the current business climate, how they're adapting to really more change in a shorter period of time than they've ever seen before. What they found is that basically a majority of their customers are all responding the same way, responding with 4 key actions that I've got listed here. First one is related to the fact that the annual plan that might have been created in January is absolutely no longer valid. Most of them are coming out of a replan phase, maybe even going into a second replan based on current events. But all the drivers of that annual plan have shifted now, and the ability to forecast quickly and efficiently is just absolutely paramount. It used to be you had an annual forecast, maybe you did quarterly rolling forecasts or down to monthly rolling forecasts. Now we're even see customers doing it on a weekly basis. With so much change coming so quickly, the ability to replan is critical, and that's where the companies that we see using Adaptive find that it really shines. The second action relates to what that replan looks like. What are the business drivers that are in their control? You have obvious ones: non-essential travel, office expenses, hiring. But there are others that you will likely find as you start kind of peeling back the onion. Then you get into contingency planning. What are the taking advantage of Adaptive's ability to create what-if scenarios, and how modeling out those predicted events. What if revenue goes down? What if we have to freeze hiring? And what's the financial impact of most, if not all, of our employees now having to work from home, be it a good impact or a negative impact? And being able to model these events and compare them to each other, and being able to do that in a fraction of the time that it might normally take someone doing all this planning in Excel is crucial. And one of the biggest parts of that contingency planning is collaboration. The need still exists to collaborate on the plan that you're creating. And with most people working from home, it's never been more important to have users inside Adaptive, both for collection of information, but also sending out information. For example, I can't walk down to my CFO's office and just hand a report to them. So companies are able to take advantage of the collaboration features of Adaptive for these replans, which increase efficiency, increase speed without any compromise in accuracy. And then with the plan developed and executed, they now need to monitor the variance. How is the company doing against the plan? Now that's much easier with the recent release of active dashboards inside Adaptive, which I'll be going through in the demo. So what does a typical scenario look like, a typical what-if scenario? And what are people doing? First thing we need to model is the top line. Is our revenue going to go down? What kind of demand shock is there? So we talk about demand planning. Do we expect inventory or supply chain issues? And then, are we going to have issues with collections? That's a big one. How do our collection assumptions affect our top line? And then what do we do about it? How do we react to what we just changed about the top line, and how do we adjust our expenses? Are we going to have to delay hiring, lay people off, modify or restrict various operating expenses or capital expenditures in any way? And then the net of that is, how does that affect our bottom line? How does it affect our cash position? Do we have enough cash to cover payroll, other types of expenses? You know, a lot of people are talking about loans right now. Are we going to have shortfalls that we need to start looking for financing? And all that becomes clear as you start building out these what if scenarios. So with that, I'm going to jump into the demo now, and we'll take a look at some real life examples of how people are using Adaptive for this type of planning. So one of the first things that you'll see inside Adaptive, one of the great aspects of Adaptive are the dashboards. The dashboards that you can where you've got various metrics, key KPIs that are important across the board, important to the executive team, important to business leaders throughout, and you know, the dashboards can be set up so that it's the first thing someone sees when they log into Adaptive. This is a company summary that might be viewed by the executive team, where they can see top level net product revenue, EBITDA, look at budget information, take a look at CRM, what does our pipeline look like, etc. One other really strong suit of the dashboards is the ability to take a look at the information across various organizational levels. In this example, we've got multiple companies that we consolidate within Adaptive. Within each company A being 100% owned by the enterprise. Within that, various departments, operations, where we then break that down by geography and departments within the geography. So you'll see United States, Canada, UK, etc. And so we can pick one of those and see at an instant what the snapshot looks like for that particular level. What's important though is, this right now is our working budget, and we can see that at the top. If we look at the various versions of the planning that we've been doing, right now we're looking at our current plan. And what we want to explore is, okay, what happens if we change various assumptions within our plans? So the first thing that we would do is we would go into our versions, and notice we've got a large number of versions, different scenarios, different folders, and I've created a folder called impact scenarios. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating what if scenarios with various assumptions. For example, I've already created one where my worst case scenario, is I've got a 50% drop in demand company-wide across the entire company, and let's say a 2021 hiring freeze. And for a quick note, my fiscal years are set up in here, assuming actuals are all the way through 2020. So we're actually doing this in the fiscal year 2021. But this scenario was created from the working budget baseline, and it's a simple, creating a new version inside Adaptive is as simple as going to the folder that I want to create the version in. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call this scenario best case. And you'll notice that access control, I've got quite a few options for access control. These are what if scenarios that I really don't want users to have access to, so I can hide these from users. So not only can they not view the scenarios themselves or the contents, they won't even see it in the list of scenarios. And I'm going to start this out as a copy of my working budget version. So and then I'm going to make sure that that's available as a report parameter across all my reports. So once I save this, this takes, 15, 20 minutes to complete, excuse me. And what's happening here, this is really the equivalent if you've got all of your models in, for a particular version of your budget and forecast in a single Excel workbook. This is the equivalent of doing a save as. So I'm saving my working budget as, say, my scenario best case. And that's taking everything that's been entered, all the assumptions, all the different drivers, and moving them copying them from my working budget into the new version that you see here. And then once this is done, this version will be available on dashboards, on reports, etc. So let's go into dashboards now, and let's take a look at the first thing that I want to address is my top line, and I'm going to change so there's my new best case scenario. If I change over to this best case scenario, my dashboard will refresh, and I'll get to see for the total company here, my numbers, these would all match my working budget numbers. And since I mainly budget my revenue, I mainly forecast my revenue at the region level. And so what I can do here this is what I mentioned earlier about the new feature within Adaptive called Active Dashboards. With Active Dashboards, I can make changes. If I have the permission to do so, I can make changes directly within this dashboard. And that's as simple as making sure that I'm on my best case scenario. I'll expand out this sheet, which is a component of my dashboard. And what I want to do is let's say I want to change my forecast for my sales north region. And this is a region within the US for company A. The way that I forecast my sales is by units by customer, by product. And so in this case, you can see that I've got units forecast all the way throughout the year of 2021 for customer one, product one. But let's say within the North region, the sales North region, I expect a drop in demand for product A1 across the board. So what I can do is if I take my product, actually that was the wrong, let's go take that back up. Let's change my dimensions here. So I'm going to actually put customers down. Customers, product A1. And so for product A1, I expect my working budget shows 10,000 units sold across 2021. But I think that my demand is going to be really impacted on a quarterly basis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my quarters, and what I'll do is I will change the demand for the particular quarter. So let's say that in quarter one, I expect maybe a 50% demand for this product in this region across all customers. So I can change my total that I expected to sell, dropping it from 2,500 roughly to 1,250. Once I hit enter, it gives me the option to break back those changes. So I can break those changes back to the months that make up that quarter, proportionally or evenly. I'm gonna go ahead and select proportionally. Then I want to do the same thing. I'm thinking I'm going to experience the same 50% drop in demand in quarter two. So I'll make the same change there, break it back the same way. Maybe quarter three, I think we're going to start to get back on track. And then we might even make up a little bit in quarter four. So maybe 1,000 more units total across this product for a total of 3,500. Same thing. I'm going to break this back. So notice that within the sheets that you'll see in Adaptive, the blue means I've made changes that aren't saved yet. And once I click save, then these turn to black, and I know I've got saved numbers. Any white cell, I can type into these cells, and everything is very easy to change. So I'm going to change that, and this is going to have an impact on my total revenue. Right now, you're not going to see a whole lot. You won't see a whole lot total company-wise because we've only changed the demand for one product in one region. And if we look at a comparison report, here's a report where I'm comparing my working budget. I want to make sure that I can see, okay, my best case scenario is there. I run this. And I'm going to change this to the best case scenario that I just did. And we're going to see a very small effect of the change that we made. It's very, this is a total company. This is a report by total company. So we're not going to see much of the effect at the top level. If we look at if we go into the levels and we take a look at Sales North, this is really where you see the impact. We can see the North region is going to go down. The revenue we expect to go down by about 7%. So the other thing we might do is we might decide we're going to push out hiring. And if I go into my best case and I take a look at my workforce planning, so this is a sheet where I've got employees listed, I've got new hires listed, and I can come in here and I'm going to look up new hires, and I'm going to change the hire dates on a few of these expected new hires. So here I've got quite a few that I'm going to push these new hires, let's say, till the middle of July. And I can copy these down. And I can also import this data. So that's enough to make this much quicker. So if you've got sheets, you can import the data into these sheets. I'll save this. And one thing that you're gonna notice here is this will obviously have an impact on my payroll. That's going to improve my payroll expenses. But because Adaptive also gives us the capability to do revenue forecasting based on rep capacity, some of the people that I push the hire dates out for are account executives, and these are people that will have a negative impact on our revenue. And since I've done this across the board, company-wide, notice that we're at the total company level here. What we're going to find is that not only impacted our payroll, but if I refresh this now, we're going to see a much bigger impact across the board for our product revenue, because again, a lot of our revenue was forecast based on rep capacity. I've lowered rep capacity, and therefore I've lowered my expected revenue. This is notice that we're running this for March 2021, the first quarter of when I see our impact. You'll notice down here I can see, how does my working budget compare for operating expenses for payroll, et cetera. And here you see it's gone down for quite a bit, not only payroll, but for other related expenses. In our headcounts, in our headcount forecasting, we also buy laptops. So those purchases got pushed out. So we'll see a decrease in expenses in office expenses, in taxes and benefits, related payroll taxes, et cetera. So as you can see very quickly, I have made some fairly drastic changes to my budget, to my forecasts, and been able to roll these forward up to the top line in a matter of, what we take here, about 10 minutes. And so that's the main message that we wanted to really communicate today, is how easy it is for companies to rapidly, efficiently, and accurately take changes that you might have had to roll through numerous spreadsheets that either exist on shared drives or are being emailed back and forth, a very inefficient process. By putting everything into a central platform like Adaptive, you're able to see the results of of these changes within minutes instead of maybe days or weeks as it might have happened in the past. So with that, that's that's the extent of what I wanted to show today. I want to thank everybody again for joining. We are at Cubics. We're available to do more in-depth product demos, implementations, consulting services, best practices around financial planning. So get in touch with us. We'll send an email out later this week. With a recording of this webinar should you want to rewatch it, or if you want to dive into Adaptive in a little more detail, by all means give us a call, send us an email, come to our website, take a look at what we're writing. So I want to thank everybody, and let's see if we have any questions. No questions at the moment, so I'll go ahead and sign off there. Again, thank you everybody, and reach out if you have any questions for us. Take care.